Hey everyone, I'm Mike Vaughn. I'm the founder of The Video Attic, and I'm the author of this little book right here, The Ultimate Guide to Strange Cinema.
Yay. My name is Dylan Gonzalez. I am a senior critic for GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast.
And welcome to a new Video Attic, but we're doing something a little bit different. This is a bonus episode, which I'm calling Oops, All Horror Movies Edition. Yeah. So before we get into these great horror titles, we have a giveaway, and it is the Scream 2022 and the original Scream double feature Blu-ray, and comes in this beautiful slipcase, slipcover, whatever. And this can be yours. All you have to do is leave a comment saying what's your favorite scary movie, just like in Scream. So yeah, that's all you have to do to be entered to win this free copy. Now, I will say that this applies to US residents only. Maybe further down the road we can do like digital copies for international folks, but for now, people in the US. So really easy to enter, and we'll kick it off with the first title here. And it's one that I feel like everybody's really been excited for. And Dylan, I know you did an amazing unboxing video, which I'll link in the description, but we got Candyman.
Yes.
We here at Video Attic kind of said his name a few too many times. Now he's here. Again,
that's okay.
Yeah. You showed this off really amazingly. But for the folks tuning in, we'll just give another look-see here. So that's a nice slipcover that comes with it. And the back. And the inside. As indicated on the slipcover, this does have the 4K and the Blu-ray. If you haven't quite upgraded yet, Scream Factory has you covered with that, which is really awesome. So just some information about this title. All of the previous features have been ported over, which is really nice. And this does have a new interview with actor Vanessa Williams. And so that's really nice because you're not just getting all of the features just ported over. You're getting something new. I mean, it has a new, obviously the 4K Ultra is new, and the Dolby Atmos track is brand new as well. It looks fantastic. So this is a movie that I've seen many, many times, like a lot of horror fans. I can definitely notice an uptick in color and clarity. Some of the previous Blu-rays, the image quality is a little chunky and maybe not as high definition as you'd want, but I feel like this, fixes all that. The previous Scream Factory Blu-ray was really nice, and really no complaints. I wouldn't say that it's a huge difference, but I definitely kind of going back and comparing the two, this is certainly, I think, worth the upgrade. So the Atmos track is pretty amazing, especially if you have a surround sound system, the sound effects, that beautiful score. I mean, it all really has a nice robust kind of sound to it. Again, chock full of features, really nice. I don't know what else to say, just it's a great movie. It was so amazing to get to interview Tony Todd. I can also link that in the description. And fingers crossed we might get him again. So, yes, we'll just have to keep saying his name until that happens.
Yes, I'll let you say his name. I'm a little too scared. I'm not sure about that. I do want to note that the two Blu-rays that are included in that release are not the exact same as the previous release. They do have the new Dolby Atmos tracks on those 2 new Blu-rays. So even if you already have the Blu-rays, but you're not quite 4K capable, you still might want to upgrade if you have the Dolby Atmos capabilities, just to future-proof yourself. So highly recommend that. My first release is from Arrow Video, and it is a new slasher flick called Girls' Night Out. And it comes with a nice, like, you can't really see it, but like it's an embossed slipcover. You can kind of, it's textured. And it's really nice. Yes. This has double-sided artwork. I'll show off here. I did not get the exclusive alternate title artwork of The Scare Maker, but I think this is a pretty cool cover art itself. It comes with a booklet. Has some nice essays in it. So it's just like the front artwork, and then the disc artwork is the same as well. So I had never even really heard of this until it started getting teased that it was going to get announced from Arrow. Because I've seen my fair share of slashers, but I know there are people who are way more knowledgeable about the genre than I am. I thought this one was decent, but not amazing. I was about to go into the transfer. I'll tell you about the transfer in a little bit, but this one, it starts off with the death of I think it's like the suicide of a man in a mental institution who's been convicted of a murder several years prior on a college campus. And then it goes to the college campus where that happened, and all the students are getting ready for like this scavenger hunt that like all the sorority girls play, and they have to like listen into radio station clues to like go find like specific little things hidden around campus. And while they start going on the scavenger hunt, they start getting kind of picked off one by one. And so it's just kind of like a typical slasher. And the slasher in this case is you can kind of see it on here, but it's just like this mascot is like a bear. So the slasher is like has like these knife fingers that are like killing people, and it's fun. Where it kind of doesn't quite come together for me is, first of all, it's not violent enough for me. Like, it's pretty tame in comparison to a lot of slashers. Like, there is blood, but it's like, it seems like whenever the killer could really go for it, it just kind of like never goes to that next step of just like carnage. It kind of just seems kind of a little bit watered down. And like, I'm not like some horn dog wanting like copious amounts of nudity, but it seems very like tame in sexuality as well. There are some like sex scenes in this, but there's like basically no nudity. And so it kind of seems like it's as if I was watching like a TV cut of a horror film, but it's just the actual theatrical cut just wasn't very gratuitous. So I could forgive that if it was actually scarier, but it's kind of just pretty formulaic. It's not boring or anything. And I did actually get kind of invested in the characters. This one actually puts more emphasis on the characters. So you kind of care about them when they're in danger. My actual favorite person in this movie was Hal Holbrook, who I'm a huge fan of, and I did not expect to see him in this, even though I know he has a horror background. I just didn't expect him to pop up in this, so he was a delight. But there are certain elements of like the final twist that don't stand up to scrutiny and like certain political correctness type things. I don't want to ruin it, but it's kind of iffy. But if you can kind of forgive that, it's entertaining, but it's just not like a top tier slasher for me. It kind of reminded me like how I felt at the end of Deadly Games, which you talked about a couple months ago. It's like, it's entertaining, but I wouldn't put it near the top of anything. This release from Arrow Video, It's one of the rare films that starts with like a title card that tells you like this is basically a miracle that this is out on disc. They had to go from like a kind of battered ancient print that they found. There's like no original like usable elements basically. So this isn't like the most pristine looking print. Like you can kind of tell there's some more wear and tear than the normal Arrow release, but it looks good overall. Like there are portions where you can tell that some source material was in worse shape than others, but like it's just basically a miracle that slasher fans have this in high definition, and a lot of it does look really good. So yeah, it looks decent. It sounds pretty good. It comes with a new audio commentary and like a ton of new interviews with the actors. There's like 5 or 6 new actor interviews, all ranging from like 10 to 25 minutes long. So it's a really nice stacked release if you're a fan of this film. And like I said, it's a good presentation, or as good as I could get under the circumstances.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm definitely a slasher fan, so I definitely will need to check that out. So my next title is interesting because I covered it in my film guide, and I never thought that it was going to get like a brand new 2K scan, and that is Without Warning.
Oh, cool.
Kino Studio Classics. And now, have you seen this?
I have not.
So here's the back.
I want to.
Yeah, so this is really exciting because the Scream Factory release of this is out of print. But what's nice is Kino was able to port over everything from the Scream Factory release. So that's good info for y'all if you're curious. This also technically has a feature that's not on the Scream Factory release, and that is the Trailers from Hell trailer. So yeah, that's always fun. I've always been a huge fan of Trailers from Hell, so it's always fun to see that kind of pop up as a feature. So looking at this, this does have the original artwork, and then the new artwork, which I actually really like, but I know a lot of people are kind of purists, so they give you that option, which is nice. So I will say, again, I have the Scream Factory release of this, and that was a 2014 release. So this is a brand new 2K transfer. It looks much better. You can tell that there's a lot less like artifacts, and it just looks a little crisp and cleaner. I noticed that the clarity is much better. You know, I mean, there's a lot of night scenes, so you know, this new 2K really like benefits greatly from that as well. So yeah, it's as far as the movie itself, I'm a little hot and cold on it. Like, I think that you know, it's a fun concept. It's great on Clark. My fellow like Misties will know Great on Clark from being featured a bunch on the Mystery Science Theater episodes, like Final Justice was Great on Clark, I think, and then I'm blanking on the other one, but he's been so you know, he's kind of known for his like really bad but kind of fun films. I think it's more bad than fun. Like, I like the concept overall, like I said, and it's kind of goopy. It's kind of like a really so bad it's good like alien film. Like, it's like these flying alien discs that like eat you. And it just kind of, for me, what sinks is it sort of drags a little bit when I feel like a movie like this really shouldn't. But yeah, overall, I know this movie has its cult following, so don't let that deter you from checking it out. Like, definitely still, you know, give it a chance. Again, if you were not getting this release because it's been out of print now, Kino has you covered, and really nice presentation overall. So Yeah, it's if you have been putting it off, checking it out because it's been expensive, now's the perfect time.
Well, I do not have that Scream Factory release, so I'll have to check that out.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm heading to a brand new film, and that is this year's release of Row 19 from Wellgo USA, which is a Russian horror film set on an airplane. I'll show the interior real quick. So this movie begins with a little girl surviving a plane crash, and she's kind of like, it's like a minor miracle that she survived, and she gets all this media attention in Russia of just being the only girl that survived this plane crash. And then it fast forwards to her being an adult, kind of living with all of this, and she's about to take another plane crash with her, or no, and she doesn't know it's a plane crash. She's about to take another airplane trip with her daughter. And on this trip, she kind of starts having flashbacks to her past, and also there's like possibly like a spirit haunting her, like a ghostly spirit haunting her on this plane, and just her kind of dealing with that and wondering if it's like all in her head. Does she have like PTSD, or is there something actually on the plane trying to get her, like, because she survived the first time? So it's kind of that mystery element. This movie was okay. I really like the ending. The middle, it's a little messy and a little erratic. But once you get to the end, it kind of makes you retroactively appreciate what they were doing earlier, but it is still kind of really messy. Like, there are things that kind of make you curious early on. Like, whenever this woman gets on the plane, there's like 8 other people on the plane, including the flight attendants. And you're just, in my mind, I go to like kind of logically, I'm like, I don't think a plane would go off with this few people. I don't think this makes monetary sense for the airline. I think they would try to like shuffle some things around, but I just like gotta go with it. So like just the fact that there's so few passengers, and it's like late at night and stormy, and then like passengers start getting kind of like harmed or killed throughout, and just trying to figure things out. But it all comes together really nicely in the end, and it's like actually really emotional by the end, which I wasn't expecting. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe I slightly misjudged this movie, even though it's still very messy in the beginning. And I don't think it's scary. Like, if you're looking for genuine scares, I don't think you will like this, but I think it is entertaining as a horror movie. And what really helps this movie, in my opinion, is like it's 78 minutes long. So I like, it doesn't overstay its welcome. So like, thank you for that. But yeah, it's an okay movie, and I didn't really appreciate it until I got to the end, and it might not be enough for most people, but it hit that threshold enough for me to be like, check it out, but go in with like really low expectations, because it's not the best, but it's okay. And there's like no special features or anything. It's just like a good solid like HD presentation, like 5.1 sound. And it has like the special feature is like they also include an English dub in addition to the original Russian. So it's a decent movie, not great.
Okay. See that? There you go. That should be the quote for the cover.
I don't see that on here. I don't see
like it's not even like words. It's just like a shoulder shrug.
They would probably just pull my quote as just like, make sure to stick around to the end.
And thankfully it's short.
Yeah, thankfully it's short. That's my nice applause for any movie.
Yeah, that it sounds interesting though. I definitely will probably give it a shot. So my next one, so I have 2 MVD rewind classics, and the first one is One Dark Night. And I had seen this before. Well, first let me show you the cover. Comes in this really cool like retro-y like video cover. Like I'm old enough to actually have like rented VHS.
Oh, same. So
So this has reversible art. So I actually did reverse this one. So this is the original cover, or like what it comes with, and then that is their reversible artwork, which I actually like a lot more. This does come with a poster as well, and it's just one-sided, if you're wondering. So that's pretty cool. So this was fun because I had not seen this in a while, and it's one of those movies that has like a really wild cast, like Meg Tilly, Adam West. Yeah, it's yeah. I I have to tell. I have to like tell my little Adam West story sometime. Maybe I'll say that for another show. But just long story short, he was not very nice, unfortunately, to meet. But anyways, this movie, it's interesting because it kind of starts out like you were talking about slashers. This kind of starts out like a typical slasher with the sorority girls in there, like trying to like do like the typical like Hell Week, scaring the pledges, all that stuff. But then it really takes an interesting intersection with like the supernatural and like telekinesis, and um it sounds really fun, but it drags so much. But having said that, if you just hang on to the end, the ending is mwah. It is like full neon, like 80s EC horror comics. Like the effects really kick in and are awesome. It's one of those like it almost saves the film, like the latter part of the middle to the end. It's just kind of like I wish the pacing was a little tighter and things kind of happened a little bit narrative wise faster, but yeah, it's really a good time. It is PG, so you're not getting any nudity or anything like super explicit, but I still think it's fun. The same director also did one of my absolute favorite Friday the 13th films, Jason Lives, Friday the 13th Part 6. You can kind of see that like dry sense of humor, that like dark kind of sardonic wit that his movies have. So if you haven't ever seen this, I recommend it. Mostly, again, it's just so dull, but then the ending just like kicks into high gear, and then you kind of wonder like, where has this movie been like the entire time? But I still say like rent it or check it out, or certainly buy this release. It's really good. The transfer is rough, I will be honest, but when it comes to this kind of movies, I don't mind that because it kind of gives me that grindhouse feel that I like. I actually like seeing like really gnarly looking VHS dubs of older movies sometimes, just because it gives me that sort of like VHS rental day feel. So that's may very well be what they were going for. And it doesn't look awful. I mean, I can definitely tell that, there is an uptick in like clarity and like brightness, like things don't look washed out, but then you have a lot of artifacts and like some scratches and stuff. But again, I kind of forgive that when it's not like Lawrence of Arabia or something. When it's like a movie like this, and that's not belittling it, but I think you get what I mean. Like it gives me that like nostalgic quality. Yeah, check it out. And you say you haven't seen this one?
Have not.
Yeah, again, just it's almost like to skip the end to the end. It's yeah.
I like that we're recommending back-to-back movies. It's like stick around for the end.
Right.
So I'm going to continue with my slasher talk and go with Arrow Video's standard edition of Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge, which can see here. So yeah, I didn't get the original cut with the fan cut and TV cut on the second disc. This is just the one disc release. So here's the alternate artwork. And so yeah, I had never seen this movie, but once again, it's kind of like infamous amongst slasher fans. And I thought this one was better than Girls Night Out. It's still not amazing. It's still kind of like a not great slasher, but it's still like it's more entertaining, I would say. It's basically about a phantom haunting this mall who supposedly died. Like the titular Eric died the year before in a fire, but he didn't. And now he's haunting this mall that's like big for the community. And there's his girlfriend who lost him is kind of like has kind of PTSD and is like trying to get over her loss. And then there's like some shady business people in the town that are possibly the cause of the fire and blah 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 blah. Typical plot stuff. But in terms of like effectiveness, this had like much more visceral like kills, which I really enjoyed. There's like one really gnarly one where the Phantom he holds a guy's face against like a spinning like fan, like in the mall, like a convention or perfect like conventional fan. Yeah, that's like scrapes his face off, which that's fun. And so yeah, there's some decent kills. There's some really interesting people who pop up. This is like one of the few movies where I would say that Pauly Shore does not really take a movie down. This is like one of his first appearances. It might be his first film appearance. And he is like way toned down. And he's just like solid comic relief. And I'm like, okay, Pauly, like I wish you were more in this vein in a lot of your other movies, so you weren't just like obnoxious. He like elevated the movie, which is a rare thing you can say about Pauly Shore. There's also Morgan Fairchild, and there is a moment near the end with her, which pretty much makes the movie for me. I won't spoil it. And it's not, like I said, it's not great. There is like there's some sex scenes in this with some obvious body doubles just based on how it's filmed. Like you'll see the girl's face and it'll be a tight close up on her body because you'll be like, that actress didn't want to show her boobs. So like it's just like very cheesy music and all that stuff. And I'm like, this kind of seems almost like pretty out of place and very much shoehorned in, but it's a slasher movie and that's what was expected. So there's some pretty good special effects, some pretty good kills. The plot is kind of stupid, but it's a slasher movie, so I forgive it. It's entertaining, but also, once again, not my favorite slasher, but I liked it. I liked it overall. And this new presentation from Arrow, it looks really good. It's one of those cases where like the elements weren't in great shape, but they've done a really nice job giving it like a really nice, I think it's a 2K transfer. Yeah, 2K scan of the interpositive. They have 3 audio commentaries, so like can learn everything you want to know about this. There's a 42-minute making of on this, a 13-minute interview with the Vandals who wrote like some of the music for this movie, and a slew of other special features. So it's a really packed release, even the standard version. If you are like a big fan of this, you might want to try like track down the limited edition version with the extra cuts, but the standard edition is really nice. So Arrow Video did a good job with this.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen that too. And I think that you're probably a little bit more generous than I am. I I like the concept a lot. Um, I think the execution is not nearly as good as the premise might suggest, but yeah, it is definitely interesting, and I do like the sort of take on the Phantom of the Opera mythos. So yeah, my next title is another MVD Rewind classic, and that is The Dark. Here's the back.
That's some epic cover art.
It is, and this kind of has an awkward like reversible art. It's basically just the like it almost looks like a quad style poster.
Yeah.
So this is the poster. I'll fold it out. And like the other one, it's not double-sided. So this is pretty fun because I actually owned this on DVD, but actually thought I had watched it, but I think I might have mistaked it for another title. But yeah, it's kind of interesting because it is like sci-fi, but it has kind of like slasher vibes. It does kind of have like this body count, and it basically kind of veers into like a police procedural. And it also very much kind of reminded me of The Howling, which is interesting because this came out first. So this was 1979, I think. So it's good. It drags a little bit in the middle. But I think the ending again is so nuts, bonkers, like next level. I don't want to give it away, but it almost again sort of makes the movie for me. And you know, when I say it drags, it's never dull. Like there always is a really nice kind of pacing and progression of plot. And yeah, I know again, I think that there's some things that maybe could have been like cut to maybe tighten things up, but overall, like it's a really fun, cheesy movie. Again, it's really interesting because even the creature design for a little, at least some of the movie, kind of reminded me of The Howling, like before Eddie goes full like werewolf, you know, where he's kind of in that like gross human face, but not quite wolf. Kind of reminded me of like this movie.
Okay.
So yeah, and once again, the print is good, but like I'll give you an example, like the opening scene. I actually thought it was like supposed to be like raining or something. That's like how like heavy the artifacts and the like rain and stuff was. Like
Yeah.
and again it's not throughout quite that bad, but just to give you an idea of like it's up converted, but it's not like what I would say like a beautifully remastered edition. And once again, when it comes to a cheesy like late 70s, and then like in the case of One Dark Night 80s movie, I don't mind that. It kind of gives me that grindhousey kind of feel, like I said earlier, and you know, I'm willing to kind of forgive it. Again, I can see like night shots that look like they were kind of like brightened up to be able to actually see what's going on. So it is an upgrade. Is it pristine and beautiful? No. Is it a heck of a fun time? Yes, like both of these are. I highly recommend.
Right on. That's another one I have to add to the list. My next title is by far my favorite title I'm speaking about today, and it's a new release of the 2015 film. I believe it's 2015. They Look Like People, newly out from Vinegar Syndrome and Yellow Bell Pictures. It's one of their partner label releases from Vinegar Syndrome. Show this off a little bit here. It's from director Perry Blackshear. And It stars McLeod Andrews, who I'm a big fan of from A Ghost Waits, which Arrow Video put out last year, which I highly recommend.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yes, I think that movie is like way underrated, so highly recommend that. So I was very excited to see him, and this time in color. And he also stars alongside Evan Dumichel and Margaret Ying Drake. And this one, it gets away from like all the slasher stuff I've been talking about in Spirit. And this is more psychological, which is where my favorite kind of horror films reside within. So basically the premise of this is McLeod, he plays a guy who he comes to New York, and he's like is staying with his friend, or he's invited to stay with his friend. But the secret he is keeping within himself is he believes that people are it's kind of like an invasion of the body snatchers type belief, of like people are being taken over by like other beings. And he is like talking to people in the dead of night, like he's getting phone calls saying that he is going to like basically being recruited to help like stop this incoming invasion. Like only he and like this group can stop these people from taking over, like stop these beings from taking over. And so it's basically, you're wondering the whole time if he is mentally unstable, or maybe does he actually possibly have this insight into things that are slightly amiss in the world. And like you see him going to like visit a therapist and being like, am I schizophrenic? And like questioning that within himself, which I think really aids in the movie, because when a character questions whether he's crazy, it makes you think like, oh, maybe there's a possibility that he's not. And instead of just like thinking like, oh, if he's not even thinking about this, then it's probably not happening. So it's like very like well-constructed paranoia. But what I really like about this movie is the relationship he has with his friend that he's staying with. It's like a really like complex male friendship. Like you don't really get to see like the intimacy, like a platonic male friendship like this on screen a lot, like just them being vulnerable with one another, but like also they're not eventually going to be lovers, or just friends. And like, but they're like confiding in one another. And like if one, like they're about to go on a date and he's like, man, can you shave my back and stuff, like just like intimate moments like that really builds up the characters and like really gives you insight into them. And like so much so that you'll go long portions of the movie, like 10 or 15 minutes, and you don't even think about these like possible beings taking over people. You just get wrapped up in all of the character stuff. So I really love how this kind of evolves. And then like the ending, like everything else is good before. This isn't a case where you have to wait for the ending to get good, but the ending had me like holding my breath. And like, I was just like, so stressed out, but in a good way. And it left me on such a high that I really love this movie. And it's like one of the, like my highlights of the early part of the year thus far, of like discoveries, because I'd never heard of this movie. And then like it came out and I was like, oh, now I want to watch everything that this director has ever done. Like I want to catch up on all of his movies, and I hope they get similar treatment to this release, which is packed with like special features. It once again has 3 audio commentary tracks, one with just the director, one with the director and the 2 stars, and then one with the 3 stars. And then there's like a 12-minute little interview piece with all of those people. And then there's like another 28-minute behind the scenes piece where you just see them on set and like kind of follow them filming different things and seeing how they're set up and like certain shots are set up. This is a micro budget movie, so it's like not the most pristine like sound or anything. Like you can kind of tell that like it was kind of shot on the fly and like very low budget in the director's apartment. It's just very DIY, but it's so good. I really enjoyed like the inventiveness. I highly recommend it if you like psychological horror, if you want something that's like constantly giving you like jump scares, this is not that movie. But there is like a lot of dread in this movie, which I really, really loved. So They Look Like People is highly recommended.
Nice. Yeah, that's one that also need to put on my list. I've heard really good things prior though, so this kind of seals the deal. And my final title is one that I was really excited for when they announced it, and that is the 1941 version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So I'm not going to go into a lot of comparing this with the Frederick March film, although I do have there's a really great YouTube video where this guy talks about all the differences, and I'll link that in the description. But just to say that I like this a lot, but the Frederick March version is my favorite overall. I think that the makeup isn't great. I know that what you said earlier, where it being kind of like a Clark Kent situation, where like, why can't people like tell that, Tracy's character is not, Hyde when he's transformed?
Yeah.
And that's spot on. Like I couldn't have put it better myself. It's just I understand there's a level of suspension of disbelief, and that's fine, but it's a lot. But I will say that this particular adaptation is a lot more kind of sanitized from the pre-code predecessor, and but then it also kind of gets inventive of how it tries to be overtly subversive in its sexuality than its counterpart, which can go a little bit further because it was not like restricted with the code, or like there was a code in place but they weren't really following it. But anyways, yeah, but just to say that I think that the lead is great. Bergman is fantastic. Spencer Tracy's good. I just think he's miscast in this role. But the production value is amazing. You can definitely tell that the budget was increased for this one. And as far as like how it looks, I was really impressed. So I've had the double feature DVD of this probably since like mid 2000s, whenever it came out. So I've had it for a long time. So it was really exciting to, finally retire that. There's a rumor that the 31 version is coming this October. Fingers crossed. Oh, I like we did that same time. Yeah. So it looks fantastic. Again, I believe this is a 2K scan. And gosh, Warner Archive has set the bar so high for their restorations, especially with like older films. Is it completely like 4K pristine? No, there's still a little bit of like rough edges, but overall, like it's nearly flawless. It's just with a lot of their older black and white movies, I can tell that a lot of like time and effort has gone into the contrast of black and white, and everything has a really sharp, crisp detail. Like the sets, the costumes, I mean, everything is so lavish, like again, high budget. So, this restoration really shows off that high level of production value that they were working with. So, this unfortunately just has a trailer. I was a little bit disappointed that it didn't have anything like new, like a commentary track, or even like a featurette. But My hope is that they're saving all that for like the Frederick March version. Maybe like a deluxe thing, like something similar to like Curse of Frankenstein, where they actually did a lot of new features for that. So that's my hope. But yeah, if you have been wanting to check this one out, it's like the perfect time to do so. It looks great. Again, there's elements from each version of it that I like more. I will say like the characters in this are more complex. Yeah, I'm so excited that this is being re-released. I'm really excited for the 1931 version of it. And, maybe when that comes out, if y'all are interested, I can do a video kind of talking about both films and giving my own comparison. So if you want that, leave that in the comment as well.
Yes. Yeah, I really love that release. And you mentioned her, but just Ingrid Bergman in this movie, just what they allow that character to be and just the complexity of her, it elevated the movie for me. I really appreciated her role in that. Yeah. My final film is a final one from Era Video. Surprise, surprise. And that is the standard edition of the Hills Have Eyes 4K Ultra HD disc, which was recently released after having like a chipbook packaging last year. So here's the interior. There's no booklet on this pressing, but it still has the double-sided art, which is pretty cool. I know we've talked about this transfer offline in the past. And like, yeah, I'll get it out of the way. This is not the most pristine looking 4K transfer because it's a really gritty looking movie. But this is by far the best the film has ever looked. And it's a really nice, like, organic to the intent of the look of the movie. I think it was filmed on like 16 millimeter. So just like, it was always going to be really coarse and grainy. But I think it is resolved really well. But don't expect, if you hate grain, this is gonna be a rough looking. Well, I think any version of this film is gonna be rough for you. But in just terms of like clarity and like stability, I think the 4K is the way to go. I actually, before it was released, and I got like the preview disc last year, was my first time watching it, and I just watched it again. The film actually, I think it still holds up really well. It's very brutal, and Wes Craven did a really nice job with this. It's very simple but effective, of just like a family being stuck out in the desert with a bunch of like mutant cannibals around them, basically, and just trying to survive the night. And it is really kind of freaky, and like there are some heroic dogs in here I really like them trying to protect the family. Like, gotta love those pooches. But I really love the like finale of this. It's really just seeing basically the family trying to put up their final stand towards like these forces of evil is really, it gets my pulse racing in a good way, and I really liked it. But it can be a rough watch because it is very brutal and just really stark, and just like how it's filmed, it feels like very real, and it just like kind of makes your spine tingle a little bit. So yeah, I like the movie. It's been a minute since I've watched the remake, which actually was the first version I saw of this movie back when it was originally released. I remember really liking it too, so I can't say which is better, but this original is really good, especially like this creepy guy right here who's on the reverse artwork. Like, he just has such a distinct look in horror movies. Like, it's just kind of like he's really good in his role. So yeah, the presentation, the audiovisual presentation, it's solid. I believe this has like a 7.1 soundtrack, in addition to the original like mono audio. this, like my last three releases all had three audio commentary tracks. So yeah, this one has three audio commentary tracks. It has a 55-minute retrospective. It has interviews with another one of the actors and an interview with the composer. So yeah, it's like stacked with like special features all down here. So if you're a fan of The Hills Have Eyes and you don't own it yet, I think 4K is the way to go. If you already own this on Blu-ray, I don't know how much of like how big of an upgrade it would be for you, because it's still like a very gritty looking film, but I think this is the best version of the film that can be, at least at this moment with the current technology. It's a really good release from Arrow, and despite it being like a very like grimy movie, I'm glad it was released on the format.
Yeah, that I definitely like the movie. I think I'm with a lot of people that like the remake better. As much as I love Wes Craven, I think that he hadn't really quite gotten to his like peak creative talent at this point. I think he was still kind of working out his craft, but yeah, it definitely, I do appreciate like that, and Last House on the Left, like how like visceral and like savage he goes. And you know, this is something that I talked with Michael Keane about on our Scream review. You know, Craven always or mostly always, like his films dealt with like the decay of the family and the family unit, and I think that's such an interesting and you know, painfully relatable sort of like meta text. So I really appreciate like when he really like delves into that. And that's actually kind of like a great way to wrap this up, because you know, as I said, speaking of Wes Craven, we have this amazing giveaway.
Yes.
See how seamless that was, like that transition?
It's weird because you did not know what my last title was gonna be,
right? So ta-da.
It's meant to be.
So as I said at the beginning, you can win this for your very own. The only limitation is US residents only, but all you need to do to win is just tell us what's your favorite scary movie, and you will be entered to win. The deadline for that is June 20th, and brand spanking new, and you get both films, the new 2022 Scream and the original. So and if you like this, I definitely would be excited to do like an all horror version of this again, maybe in October. If you want something like that, just like let us know. And thanks for hanging out with us.